Hello! In today's video I would like to react to Roger Yates' new video titled "What's All This About New Welfare?" I'm interested in this in-betweeny concept and I'm wondering about it myself. I think about it quite a lot and I'm not sure of my own position. Many issues seem ambiguous to me. If you happen to be a vegan activist and would like to discuss it, please send me an email and let's discuss it so that also others might benefit from it. Let me present an excerpt from Roger's speech and then I will share with you my thoughts.
If you've got all this big welfare and new welfare structure, then that is the movement that people like Ed and Joey have come into. And so they come into a movement, they look around, they might read a couple of books, they'll see a few videos. Okay, what do people talk about? Well, they talk about animal cruelty, and they talk about animal abuse, and they talk about being a nation of animal lovers, and they talk about mercy for animals. So this is the dominant language of the animal rights movement. Okay, and so they just kind of slot into that. They're socialized by the movement that they've kind of joined. Now, the only way for them to break free of that, and there was a time when Joey seemed, even now, I think Joey is much more likely than anybody else to break free of it, right? Because he will use phrases like rights violations and stuff, but he mixes it all in with welfare. What you've got with Ed is he's gone straight, new welfare. Like a lot of other groups, gone straight new welfare, cruelty language all the time. And, it's as though animal rights is too complicated.
So, I wonder if in order to reach people, we must first speak the language of a given community. For example, I specifically target religious people. For a simple reason, most people in the world are believers and vegans generally ignore this part of society. Therefore, when I address my message to religious Catholics, for example, I don't use arguments from the field of welfareism or animal rights. I don't talk about cruelty, but about sin and the offense against God. To be closer to my audience, I replace the word ethics with the word morality, because they may associate ethics too much with atheism and secular law, which is easy for them to ignore, while the suggestion that something might be immoral has a much greater impact. For billions of people in the world, the dilemma is not whether animals are moral patients or not, but whether they are children of God, or whether they have a soul, meaning consciousness. Someone might accuse me that such vocabulary and argumentation don't fit the vegan movement at all and exclude me from being either welfarist or animal rights activist. But let me surprise you. Roger Yates refers to Gary Francion's book Animals as Persons. The word person belongs to exactly the same group of words as sin or child of God. To be honest, I even wonder if it is possible to talk about animal rights and animal personhood at all if we don't first understand what the word person really is. On my Polish channel, I started a whole thematic series of videos about the history of the evolution of the meaning of this word. I think there is a need to do it also in English, so I will probably do it too. But in short, the word is special purpose weapon, artificially manufactured over centuries by none other than Catholic philosophers who manipulated the definition of this word for so long until they coined a concept connecting human with God, angels, and the whole spiritual domain, while animals were equated with plants and defined as something in contrast to someone. This word has the special task of being a proof that the man was created in the image and likeness of God. Let me remind you that Tristan Tate used exactly this argument in a conversation with Joey Carbstrong. Not only him, also other anti-vegans like Jay Dyer, like Primal Health Edge Tristan, they always use this argument. So this word has been deliberately crafted in such a way as to instill in people's mind a certain unquestionable belief. And if a child asks what it means that man was created in the image of God, he will instantly get the simple answer that man is similar to God in that he is a person, unlike animals that are not persons. No question. And what I am talking about here is not just some idea of mine. This is information taken from the scientific work of our Polish professor of philosophy, who is a priest and also a lecturer of philosophy at one of our leading universities. I will definitely devote more than one video on the word person, also in English. Meanwhile, back to the issue of language. Isn't it the case that whatever language we use, and in my opinion, the best if it is a language relatable to a particular audience, our ultimate goal is to draw animals into the circle of interests and concerns of the recipient, whatever magical language we would use. Let me justify my position. I am deeply convinced that a man by nature is not interested in anyone other than himself, themselves, I should say, and that they simply doesn't give anyone any rights by nature, neither people nor animals, only to oneself. It is the socialization of the individual that makes them respect the rights of others. But what does the socialization consist in? As someone who once experimented a lot with the subconscious and then used the acquired skills to socialize my autistic son, who was naturally repulsed from society, I think I know quite a lot about human motivation. In order for anything or anyone to gain any significance for us, there must be a phenomenon of identification with that someone or something. I could talk about it for a long time, but can you imagine that in order to stimulate my son's intellectual and social development and encourage him to read books, I recorded subliminal signals for him that the books were about him. He needed this connection, and it really worked. It was a total game changer. Since then, he has loved reading books, and I don't think I need to explain how valuable way of developing his intellect it was as for an autistic child. I think animals are like those books for my son. First of all, people must draw them into their own circle of interests and concerns. They must establish a personal relationship with them, even those from the slaughterhouse whom they have no opportunity to meet. So no matter what language we use, the most important thing is that people begin to identify with animals. And whichever language helps a given person will be the best. And I know from practice that the language that has the most powerful effect on our subconscious and as a result our motivations is the language that is the opposite of what we would consider rational. Humans are not rational and are never motivated rationally. If someone says the opposite, I must call him a liar. I guarantee you that you would laugh if I showed you samples of what really works. And that's all for today. I await your reactions. Thank you and see you.